Hello and welcome to this session on the Microsoft Products and Services Agreement, the MPSA. My name is Simona Millam and it's my pleasure to take you through these slides. They support the MPSA core module in the Microsoft Licensing Solutions Specialist accreditation at getlicensingready.com. If you need reference material, you'll find handouts at that site as well. This session will be split into three main sections, as you can see here. First of all, we'll get an overview of the MPSA and see how it compares to other volume licensing agreements and what criteria customers should use to choose the right agreement for them. Then we'll look at a customer licensing scenario, and this is where we get to know quite a bit about the MPSA, since we'll look at how an MPSA is set up with purchasing accounts and then how our fictional customer goes about buying licenses for both on-premises software and online services. Finally, we'll take a look at the systems and tools that support the MPSA from both a partner and customer perspective. So let's get started with finding out about the MPSA. What we're going to do here is to look at the Microsoft volume licensing agreements that we've been familiar with for a while, and we'll see how the MPSA fits in both now and into the future of Microsoft volume licensing. So this first diagram shows existing volume licensing programs and whether they're aimed at small businesses, so that's the blue triangles, or large customers, that's the pinky purple triangles, whether they require commitment from the customer in terms of, for example, covering all qualified devices with certain software, or whether a customer can purchase as much or as little as they need through a transactional arrangement. It also shows which agreements offer non-perpetual licenses, shown by the little dots, and whether software assurance is mandatory, that's where software assurance is shown in a circle, or optional, where the SA is not in a circle. All of the products purchased through these agreements have traditionally been installed on premises. Now, something that's happened relatively recently is that customers can now buy online services through the majority of these agreements too, and you can see these subscription licenses added to all of the programs here, apart from Select Plus. So what does the Select Plus customer do who doesn't want an EA and wants to buy online services through a transactional agreement? So how did customers acquire online services before they could purchase them through their volume licensing agreements? Well, the Microsoft Online Subscription Agreement, MOSA, exists as an alternative way of customers buying their online services. Now, everything we've seen on this diagram so far are agreements that you have been familiar with for a number of years, and Microsoft is aiming to consolidate all of these agreements. But where are we today? Well, in December 2013, the MPSA was launched, and today it fits in right here. Now you can see that this is a transactional agreement aimed at the larger customer who wants to license online services, software and software assurance. Note that SA is an optional purchase for customers, as it is with the other transactional programs today. It's available for not only commercial customers but also academic and government ones as well. And then what's the longer term vision for the MPSA in the future? Well, you can expect to see it start to include committees. So we now know what the MPSA is, and that at the moment it's a purchasing framework for customers with over 250 users or devices to purchase online services, software and software assurance. But let's take a look at a couple of situations to ensure that you can choose the right agreement in all of them. Now, the first thing to emphasise is that the MPSA does not replace the EA or the EES. So customers who have an enterprise agreement with an enterprise enrolment or an enrolment for education solutions should continue to purchase licenses through those agreements. So how might an EA fit in with the MPSA? Let's take a look. An EA customer can purchase online services, licenses with SA, and of course can renew SA. An EES customer can purchase online services and subscription licenses with SA. An MPSA customer can purchase online services, licenses without SA, licenses with SA, and of course they can renew SA too. There will be customers for which one of these agreements completely suits their needs, but there will also be customers where both agreements running side by side would be the best solution. Look at the customer who has the requirement shown by these blue ticks here. Perhaps they cover their desktops with the enterprise enrolment and have purchased online services as additional products through that EA, but then need a purchasing framework for licenses without SA for ad hoc project work. The MPSA is the perfect accompaniment to the EA in this case. Let's now take a look at a couple of sample customers to see the different sorts of organisations that can benefit from the MPSA. First of all, we have the phone company, who have an active enterprise enrolment, and you can see that they purchase products for their desktop through that agreement. However, they have a need to buy some licenses without SA for a particular project. So what's the best solution for them? Well, they should absolutely keep their EA, but an MPSA is a great transactional offer to purchase those ad hoc licenses and to have in conjunction with the EA. Next, we have the School of Fine Art. You can see that they have had to purchase through different open agreements before, since they have parts of their organisation that are commercial and parts that are academic. The MPSA allows them to have one agreement through which they can buy licenses for all parts of their business. And what about Margie's Travel? Well, they have an expiring MOSA subscription but want to carry on subscribing to the Office 365 user licenses, and in addition they want to buy some software licenses. So again, the MPSA would be right for them as it would consolidate the management of all of their purchases. Next, Tailspin Toys. Now they have software assurance that is due to expire from a Select Plus agreement. They also want to buy some online services, so the MPSA is a great agreement for them as they can again consolidate purchases for a better price level and manage online services and software purchases through the one agreement. And finally, City Power and Light are a government customer who don't currently have a volume licensing agreement, but they want to buy some Office 365 online services user licenses, and if we look at the number of licenses, we can see that the MPSA is another ideal fit for them. So this is my summary for this section, giving us an overview of the MPSA. It's the easy way for customers to license what they need. And this is delivered on by two key things. Customers can buy just what they need, so software like SQL Server or Office 2016 or online services like the Office 365 plans or even Azure services, but it's transactional, so they don't have to commit to covering all of their users, for example. Then, the agreement is a great one for customers who've historically had several agreements and want to consolidate under a single agreement with all of the benefits that that brings. And we'll see that the agreement can be set up to reflect how an organisation wants to buy their licenses, giving them a fast and flexible way to purchase what they need. Now, in this session, we're going to get an overview of both the agreement structure side of the MPSA and how licenses are purchased, but there are two more modules within the Get Licensing Ready programme that give further information on these two key areas, and you should watch those videos if you want to take your knowledge to a more advanced level. Now it's time to meet Blue Yonder Airlines, our fictional company for this session. We're going to see how their company is set up and how the MPSA can deliver what they need from a Microsoft volume licensing program. So here we have Blue Yonder Airlines, who are headquartered in the US. They're also registered in the US as a legal entity, and they've decided that they want to buy some online services, software and software assurance, so an MPSA is the ideal agreement for them. Now, it's likely to be signed by somebody senior at head office, and what's good from a signing perspective is that the agreement is evergreen, which means that the terms and conditions don't have to be reviewed every 3 years. Within the MPSA, there's an opportunity to set up purchasing accounts to reflect how an organisation wants to purchase their licenses. Let's take a look at what would be useful for Blue Yonder Airlines. Note that we're considering a commercial customer here, but the principle is actually the same for government and academic customers. Now, it's the procurement team who buy most of the software licenses for Blue Yonder Airlines, so we're going to set them up as the first purchasing account. And we specify key contacts within that team on the purchasing account. As the purchasing account is set up, their chosen partner is assigned to that purchasing account. Note that it's as you set up the purchasing account that you specify the type of the account, so commercial or government or academic. Now, we said that the procurement team buy most of the software licenses for the different departments in Blue Yonder Airlines. However, there is a research department that wants independence in license purchasing, and so it would be good to set them up as a separate purchasing account. And again, they're a department of Blue Yonder Airlines and based in the US. Now, it's convenient for them to also use the same partner as the first purchasing account, But they have specialised needs, so they want to work with another partner as well, and that's absolutely fine. But note that the people in this purchasing account are a different colour. They're clearly different individuals, and that's the flexibility that the purchasing account allows. There's a completely different set of people involved in the purchasing of software licenses, which is what they want. As purchasing accounts are added, each of them sign up to the MPSA terms and conditions, and they could all be completely different types of organisations: commercial, government or academic. Now, Blue Yonder Airlines have a branch office in the UK, which is a legal entity in its own right, but is completely owned by Blue Yonder Airlines in the US. The company want to purchase their own licenses, and they like working with a local partner, so here's their partner. But note that Blue Yonder Airlines would have to own more than 50% of a legal entity to allow it to be included in their MPSA. So the MPSA allows Blue Yonder Airlines to set themselves up to exactly reflect how they want to purchase their online services, their software and software assurance licenses. They have a centralised purchasing team who buys licenses for most of the organisation, but also the flexibility to allow the research department and the UK branch office to buy their own licenses, all under the same agreement. Now that the MPSA is set up, let's look at how the licence purchases work. Let's see what the procurement department need to buy. Well, they're going to purchase some software licenses as well as software assurance for some or all of those licenses, whereas the research department have gone in their own direction and will purchase online services. And the UK needs software licenses with or without software assurance and some online services too. Now, although each of the purchasing accounts can purchase what they like, a benefit of the MPSA is that it allows a consolidated view of all assets across the MPSA. One purchasing account is designated as the agreement administrator. It's likely to be the procurement department in this example. As the agreement administrator, they get an all-up view of all of the assets in the MPSA. Also, the agreement administrator gets notified when a new purchasing account registers under the MPSA, and they can also terminate a purchasing account as well as the whole MPSA itself. So let's summarise what we've learnt about the MPSA here. There's a single agreement under which different purchasing accounts can be set up, and these purchasing accounts can be departments of the signing organisation, or they can be separate legal entities that are more than 50% owned by the organisation. Each purchasing account decides on which individuals they want to manage their purchasing account, and they choose which partners they want to work with. They can share partners, have separate partners, or have more than one partner even assigned to their purchasing account. Each purchasing account then chooses what they want to purchase, whether it's software licenses with or without software assurance, or online services, or even a combination of both. One purchasing account is assigned as the agreement administrator. Our checkbox indicates that here. And then that purchasing account gets a view across all of the licensing assets in the organisation, as the little dashboard on my slide here shows. So, if you remember, Blue Yonder Airlines UK are a purchasing account under the Blue Yonder Airlines MPSA, and they intend to buy both software licenses for on-premises products as well as user licenses for online services. Let's see how this works for them. Here we have the first 3 years of the MPSA. As the MPSA is signed, they order some SQL Enterprise Core licenses with software assurance, and these are perpetual licenses. An invoice is issued at the time and payment is made in full. Now, because they have ordered software assurance, they could have spread payments over 3 years, but they've opted to pay up front in this case. We'll look at the different options for spreading payments in that other purchasing module I mentioned earlier. Sometime in month 6, they provision 50 seats of CRM Online Basic, which are subscription licenses, and an invoice is issued which is for payment up to the purchasing account anniversary. That is for 6 full months, and it's paid at that time. At the purchasing account anniversary, they want to continue with the CRM Online Basic subscription, which means that an invoice is issued for 12 months and paid in full. Now, 3 months into the second year, they need some Windows Server Data Center licenses as well as another 50 CRM Online Basic user licenses. And it's okay to put both of these on the same order, and the customer will pay for both of these at this time. And of course, at anniversary, 100 CRM Online Basic seats are invoiced for 12 months. So it's easy for customers to order both software licenses with or without software assurance and online services user licenses through the same agreement and even on the same order. We saw that perpetual licenses can be paid in full at that time, as we are used to with the existing transactional volume licensing programs, and that online services are pro-rated up to the purchasing account anniversary and then paid up front. Now, this is the overview of how the orders work. Let's move on and look at all the P's. The P's are pools, points, price levels and purchasing accounts, and we're going to look at how these work for commercial purchasing accounts. Let's start with pools. Existing transactional volume licensing agreements such as Select Plus or Open use pools as a way of grouping products, and the MPSA has exactly the same requirements. You can see here that the pools are applications, systems and servers. And then for the online services they may choose to buy, you can see those products here and the pools that they are included within. Note that this is a subset of the products that are actually available through the MPSA though. Once the products are split into pools, they are given a points allocation. For the online services, you can see the points appearing in the table there, and points values for all online services, software and software assurance products are shown within the MPSA price list and the product terms document. So products are split into pools, given a points allocation, and then the points are totaled for each pool, which gives us a price level. If you know the Select Plus price levels, you'll notice that they are exactly the same. Note that these points are the minimums to be met each year for those price levels, but have a look at the little asterisk by the 500. There is an alternative minimum which you can see is 250 online services user licenses in one pool. And our final P, purchasing accounts. Well, the points are totaled across all purchasing accounts to give a price level for a particular pool across the whole MPSA, and any purchasing account can take advantage of it. Let's look at the purchasing of the whole of Blue Yonder Airlines during the first year of their MPSA, and in particular how the points work. So here's a timeline along the bottom showing the months and a points count up the side. And one good thing that's going to happen is that we're going to be able to look at all of the purchasing accounts across the whole of Blue Yonder, so we need a legend to indicate which one we are referring to. Now, we saw on the previous slide that the level A price level starts at 500 points, and that's the total points that need to be accrued through the whole year, not the minimum order. In fact, the customer can start ordering with as few points as they like, and they will have level A pricing on those orders. So let's see what happens through the first year of Blue Yonder's MPSA. As the MPSA is signed, the UK purchasing account buy 4 2-packs of Sequel 2014 Enterprise Core licenses with SA, which totals 1,256 points. As we mentioned, this will be at level A pricing. Later in the year, the purchasing account for the procurement department orders some Windows Server 2012 R2 data center licenses, and that's 750 points at level A. Note the total up the side. These points are added to the previous order and a cumulative total is made. You'll notice that I've carefully chosen all server licenses here, so we're talking about points being totaled for the servers pool specifically. And then the other purchasing account in the US orders some online services, 500 user licenses at 1 point each. So you can see that software and online services points are added together here. And note that the Exchange Online user licenses are monthly SKUs which are pro-rated to the purchasing account anniversary, but the customer still receives the full 1 point per license regardless of when in the year they order them. And then the procurement department buys some SharePoint server licenses with software assurance, and we're at a total of just over 3,000 points after 4 months of the year. Then, in month 5, the procurement department need 4 SQL Enterprise Core 2-packs with software assurance, which equates to 1,256 points. And if we show the bar, you will see that this passes the 4,000 points required for level B pricing. And in fact, the whole order gets level B pricing. And the final order that is made in the year is the UK in the 7th month, where they purchase just 50 CRM online basic licenses, and you can see that they will get this very small order at level B pricing as well. So at the end of the year, they have amassed 4,437 points and are confirmed as being a level B pricing customer. And so to the second year. Let's get the axes and the legend again, and you'll see in the legend that there's one extra item in yellow there. That's rollover points. So what are rollover points? Well, in the previous year you may remember that Blue Yonder Airlines had exceeded the price level B level requirements by 437 points, and so these are rolled over to the next year and start counting towards the price level requirements for this year. You see it in the yellow there. And the other items that we'll have here are the renewals of the online services that we had in year 1. So that's CRM Online Basic for the UK purchasing account and Exchange Online for the Research Department purchasing account. And you'll see that both of these orders are at level B pricing. Now, there aren't many purchases during this year. In fact, the next purchases are for month 4, when the UK purchasing account buys some Windows Server Data Center licenses, as well as some more CRM Online Basic user licenses, also at level B pricing. So what position are we in at the end of the year? Well, the points total was only 1,637 points, so the customer is re-levelled down a level, and next year Blue Yonder Airlines will start at level A pricing until an order takes them over the 4,000 points again. So we end this section having looked at how the points work across the purchasing accounts, and we've seen that points in the same pool are totalled across all purchasing accounts, and online services, software and software assurance licenses are all included. We saw how, when a new price level was reached, the whole of that order was eligible for the new price level, as well as all subsequent orders for the year. At the end of the year, we saw rollover points being allocated and the end price level of 1 year being set for the following year. If the same price level is not maintained, the customer just gets re-levelled down by 1 level and will start the following year at the new price level. One major area of improvement that customers and partners will experience when transacting through the MPSA are the new systems and tools. Do note though that this is not simply an improvement to previous tools, these are brand new tools developed through engagement with customers and partners and through listening to their specific needs and feedback. So what do we have here? Well, quite simply 2 new portals, one for customers on the left and one for partners on the right. And one of the key things here is that they are both working off exactly the same data. There's no parsing or calculating of data, perhaps inaccurately or incompletely, between the systems. The 2 portals are accessing the same core database. So what can customers and partners expect to do through these new portals? Let's start at the left-hand side. That's the Microsoft Volume Licensing Center customer portal, which you will see abbreviated to MVLC. Now this replaces the VLSC for customers and allows them to do everything they can in the VLSC and more. Now I should say at this point that there are updates happening to this portal, and it will be known throughout the world as the Microsoft Business Center from January 2016. You can see the tiles that are presented to the customer, which gives you an idea of what the customer is able to do, but let's pick out some key things. So they can view their agreements and their orders, and one thing you should know is that although there is that all-up view of the licensing assets for the agreement administrator across the MPSA, it only includes the licenses that have been bought through the MPSA. No other licensing assets are transferred from existing volume licensing agreements into this new system. Other things that they can do is to access the software to be downloaded and also the activation keys. You'll also see the word benefits on the first tile, and this is where a customer can manage their SA benefits. We'll have a look at that in a bit more detail in a moment. In addition to all of that, a customer will be able to provision online services themselves from this portal, and we'll have a look at how that works in the more advanced purchasing module. And what about the partner perspective? Well, that's the Microsoft Volume Licensing Partner Center, the MVLPC, on the right. One of the major advantages to partners is that this is a single portal to do different tasks, from creating the agreement, where it's known as a sales package, as we'll see in the Advanced Agreements module, to submitting orders or creating quotes, and then being able to run reports on all of these things. You may well be aware that with the other agreements, several disparate sites and portals are required for partners to successfully achieve these kinds of things. So as an example of using these portals, let's have a look at software assurance. So you can see the two tiles here that give access to the software assurance benefits, and as we said, the view of the benefits is going to be exactly the same, since it's working off the same data, for both customers and partners. Let's zoom in on the customer portal and take a closer look. So let's click on this Licenses, Services and Benefits tile. And as a customer, you'll see here a list of the licenses that you've purchased, but also there's a tab for software assurance. And if I just click on the Software Assurance and Services Benefits tab, then all of the software assurance benefits that I'm entitled to will appear, and I can scroll down to see the entire list. I think you'll agree it's a clear screen giving some very useful information. If I'm not familiar with all the benefits, then there's a description of the benefit available which I can reveal just here, as you can see. But now let's get more information and go into a greater level of detail by clicking on this arrow. And the first bit of information we get are some instructions on how to use the benefit. And one big new advantage is you don't need to activate this sort of benefit anymore. So it really is easy to manage and start using these benefits now. But perhaps one of the biggest new improvements is the ability to see how the benefits have been calculated. It's always been a bit confusing knowing how benefits were calculated, but now it's completely transparent. So if I click just here, you can see that the calculations for this home use program benefit were achieved using the Office and Visio license purchases. You can also see how many have been used and the remaining balance available, which is really useful. Well, that's the end of our quick demo, so let's just summarise. Software assurance is available through the MPSA, and while it has many similarities to the software assurance that you're familiar with through existing volume licensing agreements, such as the benefits themselves and the overall software assurance value proposition, there's an additional benefit to acquiring software assurance through the MPSA. It's easier. Let me explain what I mean by this. Software assurance is easier to understand, manage and use, and this is all enabled because there is a single source of customer and partner data. But let's link this easier experience back to what we just saw. It's easier to understand. Now think back to the demo where we could see exactly how the home use program benefits had been calculated. It's easier to understand where those benefits had come from in terms of individual purchases. In addition to this, the way the benefits are now calculated for planning services, problem resolution support and training vouchers when purchased through the MPSA has changed, so it's now simpler and more accurate. It's easier to manage, and we saw how intuitive the user interface is. It's really simplified so that you can see all your benefits at a glance and get extra information about them when you want to. And finally, it's easier to use, and one great example of this is the removal of the need to activate benefits before use. So, software assurance is easier to understand, use and manage through the MPSA. Well, that concludes this session. Thank you for listening and good luck when you take the associated exam.